Hi everybody, welcome back to Garden Obsessed. Today I wanted to have a real talk about fungus gnats. I would say I got really lucky for the first couple of years that I did seed starting in the house. Never had a single gnat issue, but I feel like once you get them, there's something that you deal with forever. I think, you know, they live in smaller populations in your houseplants and things like that. And then when it comes time to seed start, you can be inundated in a relatively short amount of time. So I wanted to talk to you about what I have done, what I am going to do, some of the things that have worked, some of the things that haven't worked, to hopefully prevent you from having some of the issues that I have had with fungus gnats in the past. So the number one way to deal with fungus gnats, I feel, is prevention. So I used to just buy my bag of soil, put lukewarm water in it, and not worry about what might be in it. And especially with your peat-based mixes, fungus gnat eggs can be dormant in that soil, and as soon as conditions are right with enough moisture and warmth, essentially what your seedlings need in order to germinate, they hatch into larvae and grow into adults and continue the cycle. So prevention is your number one tactic here. So when you are getting ready to use your potting mix, it is a good idea to sterilize it with boiling water. Now, I have found that this does not 100% prevent fungus gnats, but I think it certainly does help. So that's step one. Step two is I have started using a lot more. I don't always, because sometimes vermiculite is hard for me to find here, but I've started adding vermiculite to the tops of my seedlings. And I'll throw some footage up here of these steps as we talk about them. And it's good. This is actually good practice for a few reasons. It helps retain moisture for one, and it also creates a barrier on the surface of your soil so that the gnats have a more difficult time in laying their eggs. I say more difficult because I know it's still happening. I've been doing this and I still have fungus gnats. So it's also not 100% effective. And what I do is, this is a fairly fine grind vermiculite, but if sometimes it's a little like thicker and larger pieces, in which case I just run it through, you can either use a coffee grinder or we have a magic bullet. I run it through that and I put it in jars to have near my seeding stations when I am seeding, and then it's just easy. One more step, you just sprinkle it on top and it's easy peasy, no big deal. So the next thing that I do, and this is also a really important one because this can also help you monitor and identify a potential problem before it becomes a bigger problem, and that's using sticky tape. So there's all kinds of different kinds you can get. This is a big sheet that you can hang from racks with like twist ties or something. They also come like, you know, in fun shapes. You can either hang this one or you can get these stands that you can stick them. These are really good for your house plants. They also have these little fun shapes that this bottom part is plastic, and you stick that down into the soil and then you just this peels off. And your yellow sticky tape is there. There's Safers makes some that I particularly like. I'll take a picture and put it up here. It's a little green stick with two little spots to fold over a little strip of sticky back paper, and you can stick those into plants and seedlings as well. This is only going to target the adult stage of your fungus gnats, but it's a good way to, if you just have these stuck in a bunch of your plants and all of a sudden you notice one or two, where there's one or two, there's probably more, and it might be a good time to start thinking about treating for the larval stage of the fungus gnats to prevent an even bigger problem. So the larval stage, I have tried peroxide in the past. If you use a mixture of, I think it's 4 parts water to 1 part hydrogen peroxide, and just your regular standard 3% hydrogen peroxide that you can buy in the drugstore, or even like Canadian Tire sells it this time of year. That, if you mix that in your watering can for your seedlings and your houseplants, you can use it on your houseplants. Hydrogen peroxide will not hurt your plants. You can use that to water things and it will kill the larval stage of the fungus gnats. I have used it. I do think it helps, but it doesn't completely eradicate the larva. I've used it and the next day seen hatching larval fungus gnats, and but I do think it cuts down on the population. Now that comes to, I've been searching for another way to treat the larval stage of the fungus gnats. You want to attack at all levels, basically. So we're trying to kill them before they even hatch with the boiling water. We're preventing them from laying eggs with the vermiculite. We're capturing the adults with the sticky traps, and we are trying to kill their larvae with the peroxide. And if you are in the United States, you're also able to find and purchase mosquito bits or natural, and those have the same active ingredient, and it is a bacteria. It is called, let me see here, Bacillus thuringiensis, and the subspecies Israeliensis. And that's important because it's not your regular BT. You may have heard of BT before and used it out in your vegetable garden. It's a great thing to use to combat cabbage loopers on your brassicas in particular, but you really need the subspecies here. So it's BTI. And in Canada, we do not have those two products available to us, but what we do have is mosquito dunks. So this has the same bacteria present in it. I did have to order these on Amazon. It's not something that's, they're not easy to come by, but the other two, mosquito bits and natural, are completely unavailable in Canada. So this is what you're looking for if you are in Canada. Essentially, this is a product that's not made for seed starting and indoor use. One of these little pucks, you're supposed to, depending on the surface area, you're supposed to throw them in like your ponds and your standing water, and it will do the same thing to mosquito larvae that it will do to the gnat larvae, and essentially they will ingest it and it kills them, preventing them from reaching adulthood. So there are no instructions or outlined methods to use these for seedlings because their intended purpose is for outdoor use. So if you're able to get one of those other products, it will have instructions and amounts and things so that you will know what you're supposed to do and what is an effective dose. So I've been, you know, watching a lot of people on YouTube that have used these for indoor use. And essentially what I think I'm going to do, a lot of people will like have it or quarter it and mix it with like a gallon of water in a watering can. Other people crush them and like have a little baggie of essentially mosquito dung dust that they can mix with their water. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to, these look like maybe it might be a quarter, might be like half a tablespoon or 3/4 of a tablespoon. So I think I am going to crush these and add half of a tablespoon, I think, I take 2-liter bottles of water down to the basement where my seedlings are, and that's what I use for watering. So I think a half a tablespoon per 2-liter bottle of water is how I am going to start using these. So stay tuned. I'll take you on the journey with me and let you know how it works out for me. But if you have any experience using these in particular, or have any other methods that I haven't mentioned here today for controlling fungus gnats, I would love to hear it. We certainly don't have an outbreak or anything, like maybe that's an understatement. We do have an outbreak, but it's not the worst one I've ever had. But it is something that I want to deal with now when the seedling room isn't completely full of plants, because it will be much harder to deal with once the shelves are full of seedling trays and there's a lot more areas for them to breed. I want to deal with it now while we only have a few seedlings that we're dealing with, a few trays. It should be nice and easy to knock their populations back. You know, 1 or 2 doesn't bother me, but the numbers that I'm seeing on a small amount of trays right now is something that I do want to handle. So I hope you found that useful, and if you have any tips, please leave them below in the comments. I'm curious to hear, and I'm sure there's a lot of people having similar issues to deal with these days, and they would also love the tips. That's it for today. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.